Hello, I'm Ghost, I'm your host, and today we're talking about a serial killer film classic. This is Gerard Cargill's 1983 film, Angst, which comes in at an average of, 3.7 on Letterboxd, which is absolutely wild, because that means that this is a well-received piece of horror, which there's plenty of. But when you see pretty much any movie brought up in the disturbing movie subreddit is critically panned. But this one's brought up there, and this one isn't, which instantly piqued my interest. I was excited to watch this film. I was intrigued, and I was greatly let down. I'm sorry, and I don't dislike this film by any means, but unfortunately, my experience with this movie was not the holy fucking experience that it seems everyone else had. Our unnamed killer protagonist is a very interesting character. He's very well written. His story is interesting and gripping, and I like the way his character narrates everything. There's very few properly spoken words in this movie. It's almost all the thoughts of the killer, and I very much appreciate that. I instantly found myself genuinely intrigued in what's gone on in this character's life, and as it was slowly revealed, it felt as though it was revealed naturally, properly. Beyond that, this film is glaringly mediocre, unfortunately. I hate to tell you this, but the story isn't really there. Yes, it's a character study more than anything, but even character studies have to have some sort of plot that I actually give a rat's ass about. Unfortunately, him saying, "I'm a sexual sadist," and killing people isn't particularly intriguing. Especially when he's so fucking bad at killing people. Like, seriously, watching him just miserably fail to do anything to these victims for, half the movie is pretty goddamn depressing. And once he does actually kill all three, we have, 40 minutes of him cleaning up the scene, which is fine. I mean, I didn't find it boring by any means, just underwhelming, For a film with a 3.8, it was underwhelming. I really hope for something mind-blowingly interesting, And maybe that's partially why I didn't give it a 4.5 or whatever, because I was expecting that. But I shouldn't have to go in expecting little of a movie with a 3.8. At least that's what I thought. Now, I understand that, everyone has their own opinion, so I shouldn't worship the Letterboxd opinion or let it impact what I think of the movie too much. But, it's an event when you find a relatively extreme horror movie with a decent reception. So, of course I was excited, because the extreme cinema scene is something I'm deeply immersed in and have a great appreciation for. But everyone hates half the movies. So, hearing that someone actually likes a movie in the scene that I belong to, or the vast majority of people like the movie in the scene I belong to, that's an exciting moment. I was let down by this movie, and I find that unfortunate. As was my editor, who accurately predicted, for himself at least, that it would either be an absolute masterpiece or boring. I'll call him in right now. God, my editor, will take the seat.
So, Angst is a movie that's kinda bad. And by I mean kind of, I mean pretty damn bad. You go into this movie, you see the first few minutes and just okay, so this guy, he's getting out of prison, and he's gonna get on his killing spree again. He's gonna kill some people again. And he mentions that he has a master plan. What's that master plan? Well, I'll tell you that master plan. Go into a coffee shop, stare at two women for a few minutes, leave the coffee shop, get in a taxi, attempt to strangle the woman, fail miserably, and then scream running out into the forest, even though she wasn't even chasing after you, then find this big mansion, and, in order to get into it, he doesn't, sneakily do it, no, he just breaks open the window, with his fist. I don't know. Then, we find the most confusing house ever, with one bed in the middle of the living room, a disabled guy just chilling around calling the killer daddy. And then when the other two people get home, he miserably attempts to kill all of them. he eventually succeeds, but you don't know. And I know this is going to sound absolutely terrible, but I was like, don't do that, kill them in a better way. And I know that sounds awful, but hey, he was really bad at killing people. And by the way, this killer is probably the stupidest guy ever, but he talks like he's like a college professor.
War sehr menschenfreundlich, aber vor mir hat Angst. Ich habe mir vorgestellt, dass ich mich jetzt räche.
He talks like this the entire movie, almost in his head. And I guess you could say that, it's nice that people don't say a lot of words in this movie, but, like, it's very weird that, like, while he's killing people, he's just like, and here's my entire life story. You might have watched Ghost's video on Megan is Missing. Now, in Megan is Missing, there's a 15-minute scene at the end with a barrel. It's literally just putting a girl in a barrel and then digging a hole. Now, for 40 minutes of this movie, it's cleaning up the crime scene, but not really cleaning it up, just basically dragging the bodies, completely failing to drag the bodies, not even using, the wheelchair that the guy was in to drag the bodies. And then he gets in a car with the bodies in the trunk, and then proceeds to crash the car immediately. Then he goes back to the coffee shop and then gets arrested. That's the movie. And this killer is definitely at least somewhat autistic. Autism recognizes autism. Anyway, it's time to talk about Five Nights at Wario's 3.
Yeah, needless to say, Angst is a conflicting movie. My editor hates it. I'm somewhere in the middle. And the Letterboxd review I'm about to read loves it. This is by our boy Karsten, who is also a YouTuber, but he doesn't like talking about murder as much on YouTube. At least not as much as I do. Anyway, he has a 4.5-star review. I'm quick to call any film that takes over my body a masterpiece, but I feel like I can justify that any piece of art that uses its tools in a way that's so extreme that it gives me a physical reaction is worth admiring. In my opinion. This can be labeled as lazy, pretentious filmmaking, and in some cases it is.
Yes.
But it works.
No.
It's doing exactly what it sets out to do without any hesitation, and that's thrilling to me. Obviously there's a line, I think some of you know the film I'm talking about, but when this is done in a creative, consistent, and captivating way, I can't help but feel as though it's something worth the praise. Angst delivered all of that. Is there some guilt for loving this? Of course. It was, I kid you not, one of the most excruciating experiences of a film I've ever had. The camera work, which has been talked about extensively at this point, makes your head vibrate. The score locks you in and doesn't let you leave. The direction is chaotic. This is a terrifying film. I was on edge for its entirety. I have an awful headache now and low-key feel like throwing up. Well, I think that's pretty impressive and, I'll say it, beautiful. Knowing how many filmmakers this inspired, not sure that's worth praise or not, and knowing it's something I don't think anyone could pull off or come close to replicating, I can't help but say this film fucking rules. All that said, this dude is really bad at killing people. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed my video. It was a nice little short overview of a movie that's culturally impactful, and not many people have actually spoken about, but one that, like I said, I was kind of mixed on. I appreciate what it does for what it is, but ultimately I found the film to be lackluster both in plot and in gruesomeness, to be perfectly honest with you. For a movie that I heard was heavily disturbing, it was not. I mean, I know I'm deeper in the scene, but still, it was kind of underwhelming in that regard as well, and I wanted to throw that in. If you haven't watched the film, you totally should. It is a classic, and while not my favorite, one that I definitely don't regret watching. Thank you for watching my video, especially if you've made it this far. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you again in the future, and I wish you the best.